Thanks everyone for joining us this morning. As Dave already said, we really appreciate you guys coming and taking your time out of your busy schedules. I know it's the middle of harvest, but we're really excited to talk to you about this technology because we really think it's going to make a big impact in how we do quality assessment in this industry. And so just some introductions first. I want to talk about myself really quick, and then we'll talk about our company. My name is Galen. I'm the Director of Applied Science at Felix Instruments, which is a sister company to CID Bioscience. We have, over the past 30 years now, really honed in on making non-destructive instruments, scientific instruments, for plant research and now also for commercial agriculture applications. My background's in food science. I've worked in a lot of labs my whole life, doing a lot of quality assessment and safety assessment in the agriculture, finished foods, and cannabis sectors. So a little bit about our company first. Some of you might not be aware of who we are. We are a small company based out of Camas, Washington in the United States. That's in the Pacific Northwest. And we are a company of about 25 people that manufacture, engineer, develop, do all the R&D for, commercialize, and create technology solutions. So we do all of that in-house. We build, we manufacture, we assemble, we do the engineering, all in-house at our facility in Camas, Washington. Now, how does a company of 25 people actually get all those instruments out to users worldwide? Is we rely on a distribution network. And so that's why we have Bob with us today, who will talk after this. But we rely on these distribution partners to help us have better support and service and sales in a localized region. And so Bob is based out of New Zealand, and so to better address our New Zealand customer base, he's our point of contact. So you have someone who's local and can actually help service and sell you instruments right in your own country. We are utilized worldwide, as I mentioned. So we have customers in over 100 different countries right now, all sorts of different growing regions for all sorts of different commodities. So we don't just make kiwi fruit instrumentation, we make instrumentation for a lot of different industries. And the main thing that we do at Felix Instruments is portable quality sensors. And these sensors use NIR spectroscopy as the base technology. And with this technology, it is possible to do rapid, non-destructive measurements that give you multiple different quality traits for the internal quality of a commodity. So right now, we have 4 different commercial, products for our NIR line of instruments. We call these the F-751s, and we have an avocado version, we have a kiwi fruit version, and we have a mango version, and we actually are just releasing a melon version as well. We also have an F-750, which is kind of a generalized research instrument that can be used for any of these commodities. All of the models work across all the instruments. So you can really, it's basically all the same hardware, just a different model. And so we've spent a lot of time building up these sensors so that they can provide the end user with a reliable means to take rapid measurements non-destructively, so you don't have to actually destroy your fruit, use them wherever you need to use them out in the field. They're robust enough to handle field conditions and varying field temperatures and lighting conditions. They're accurate enough to give you confidence in the results, and they're also able to provide you even more insights than what normal testing schemes can provide you. So the ability to collect even more data to give you bigger data insights is another key component of this technology. Now, I'm not just going to say, we have customers everywhere and keep it that vague. We do have customers that have had great success implementing this technology in their specific businesses or commodity sectors. So our one really big, probably most well-known success story is with the Australian Mango Industry Association. They've got upwards of 100 units right now that they use across their entire industry to help them monitor maturity throughout the entire growing season and help inform when they need to harvest at the optimal time in varying regions throughout Australia. And this goes across multiple different mango cultivars. And so they've been using this now for a long time and using it quite successfully to map out all this data and actually plan for their harvest in a more, big data informed way that allows them to make sure that they're getting the optimal quality from their fruit and harvesting exactly when they should be. Another success story coming out of Australia actually is the Costa Group. They are avocado growers. They have a lot of orchards, and they also are in charge of packing. They've got multiple units deployed across multiple orchards. They're measuring Hass, Maluma Hass, and Shepherd avocados. And they're doing something similar to Australia, where they're trying to, in the field, map out their quality and actually monitor the maturity of the crop. But then what they're doing is just dumping that data into their own proprietary solutions, their current business data stream, and doing all that mapping in-house. And so this instrument is meant to be this kind of open source instrument where you can do with it whatever you need to in order to get that data into whatever platform you need to get it into and to do whatever you need to do with the technology. It's trying to be as open of a solution as possible so that you and transparent as possible, so you have access to all the data. You can see everything that happens within the instrument. So in late 2019, we actually had a meeting with Dave at Start Afresh, and we learned about this initiative that Zespri wanted to undertake, where we were going to essentially collect data over multiple seasons, do all these kinds of validation trials with our current model that we had in 2019. And they were doing this with our technology alongside all sorts of other NIR technologies, just to assess how well this technology could fit into your existing systems. And so what we did is we worked closely with Dave and Sean to collect a whole bunch of data, test it against our models, add that data into the model, run new iterations, and test and validate over multiple seasons, over multiple conditions, rain, different rainfall conditions, different temperature conditions, and lighting conditions, and all sorts of different variables, because all this variability needs to be built into these models. And so what we did is, over the last 3 seasons, we've been collecting that data, validating, and now we're at the stage where we look at this model and we have a pretty good degree of confidence in what the model can actually do. And so I wanted to actually show you some data, and I have full validation reports here for anyone that wants to take this data back, look at it, analyze it, assess it for yourself. This is just going to be a quick little summary of exactly what we've done for these models, but we have the full, robust reports on this table here, printed out, ready for you. As I mentioned, we have 2 different instruments. We have this F-750 and we have this F-751. The F-750 is a research unit. The 751 is meant for more commercial applications. And what I wanted to do was to show you the differences between the 2 instruments, so that can help better inform your decision on which instrument is the right fit for your company or your operations. And so what I've done here is essentially take out 100 data points of F-750 data, 100 data points of F-751 data, randomized across all seasons that we've collected data from New Zealand. This is New Zealand only data. And I've compared how the F-750 performs versus the F-751. And there's a lot of statistics underneath as well to help summarize that. But essentially what the point I want to get across with these graphs is that we have very similar performance. And that's because we've done due diligence to ensure that the data within the model is equivalent from both types of instruments. And so when you do that, the neural network we use can actually learn which type of instrument is being used, and it can more accurately predict based on the instrument type. And so another thing I wanted to just kind of point out is the actual accuracy numbers. So this is averaged over 100 data points. You can see that the average between the reference method, which is for dry matter, the oven drying method, versus our F-750 or F-751 average across 100 devices, or across 100 measurements, is within 0.08, 0.0, 0.1 of each other. That's an average of 100 fruit, so it's easy to have averages of large fruit, be really close to each other. But if you look on a single scan basis, our RMSEs are below 1, which means that on average, when you take a measurement with a device, if you scanned any random kiwi fruit, this is for gold, so if you scan any random gold kiwi fruit and you then take that same kiwi fruit and you put it in the oven and you dry it, those two measurements on average are going to be within 0.64 for the F-750 or 0.79 for the F-751 of each other. And so that is the kind of level of accuracy that we wanted to see. We wanted to bring it, you want to bring it down as low as possible. With compounding errors, it is impossible to get this to be an exact one-to-one relationship because you have error present in the human operator of the oven, how they're cutting the kiwi fruit, all those compounding errors, combined with the fact that we're actually modeling based on those techniques that have error. This is really good performance for including all those compounding errors. For green, we have something similar. I also did not remove any data from these data sets, so I included, if there are bad predictions or outliers, those are all included. So you can see, for the 750, there's a couple fruit that predicted too high based on the destructive measurements only around 13 or 14, but it's predicting almost 17 or 18. So there are those times where you'll get a scan that is a randomly too high scan or randomly too low prediction scan. But that's where the power of averaging comes in, because if you are taking scans of multiple fruit and using the average, then what you do is you smooth out that error and you still get really good predictions. And so with the Hayward Green, this is still dry matter. We're seeing, again, RMSEs below 1, and the F-751 actually outperforming the F-750. So they're very equivalent technologies. And with the red, we have a little bit above 1 for the F-750 and just around 1 for the F-751. One thing I want to say is that this isn't, I think that there's a perception with this technology that we create it and then we wash our hands of it, we're done, we give it out, and that's that. But that's not how this technology works, and we know that. We know that this requires updating. These models require updating with new data, and every season, adding new data in, revalidating, making sure that the entire range that you guys need to be able to predict in is represented in our data sets. So we make a very concerted effort to make sure that this technology works for you the way you want it to work for you. We don't just make it and abandon it and let you guys deal with it, the accuracy, and that's that. So we're going to continue to collect data. We've got more data from this season that we'll be adding into the model, filling in some gaps in the range to make sure that everything's evenly distributed as far as all of our reference data, and just continuing to make sure that it remains temperature independent, that it remains independent of all these other variables that you're going to encounter, weather variables and on all this stuff. So that is how this technology works, and that is our philosophy on how this technology works, is that we aren't going to just make it and abandon it for you guys to just deal with. So we're always going to want to cooperate with you to make sure that it works the way you need it to work. And just as a little bit of a wrap up, as I've already mentioned, these instruments can be used anywhere really along the supply chain, and I think that's going to be a pretty instrumental key to this technology, is that we can use the same exact tech in the field, at the pack house, along the supply chain to make sure that the quality is staying the way we need it to. Because at the end of the day, it is all about what the consumer is getting and the quality that the consumer is perceiving from your fruit. And with all of the challenges this industry faces as far as climate change, varying weather conditions, extreme weather conditions, labor shortages, all sorts of other challenges that are going to be new challenges that we'll see in the future. With all of that, this kind of technology, NIR technology, the F-751s, and other online NIR technologies, and all are going to be very beneficial for the industry as far as quality control is concerned, but also on saving time on doing measurements, saving fruit waste, so reducing food waste, reducing labor costs, reducing inaccuracies between different operators of instruments and quality assurance technicians that are doing, maybe they're doing different techniques. So all this stuff, we're just looking for consistency, non-destructive ability, and the ability to do it wherever along the supply chain. And so this kind of technology provides all of that. And I just really think that this is a great time in this development of this technology for us to start thinking about how this technology is going to shape our industry here, and also how it's going to be able to fit into your current practices. And that's really all I wanted to say. I will pass the torch on to Bob and let him talk a little bit about what kind of service he provides locally for you guys.